Today I have a very special video for you because we are going to be going over my full main portfolio. Not only am I going to show you every position that I have in this portfolio, I will also show you how I built out my positions over time, and I will even show you how my portfolio has performed over the last 5 years. So if you appreciate the transparency in this video, drop a like down below, and if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. Before we jump into the portfolio, I want to discuss how I have my investments laid out because I have a number of different portfolios, 6 to be exact, and they all have different objectives. The first one we have up here is my main portfolio, and I am focusing the most amount of time on this because it is my largest portfolio. And what I do within it is I look for companies that are long-term investments. I like a lot of companies that are going to grow their revenue, grow their EPS numbers, and that is the main reason for this portfolio. I'm looking for individual stocks, but I also have some ETFs that you'll see here in a little bit within this portfolio. The second portfolio is my 401k from my first job. I haven't moved this one over to a different platform, so it's just sitting out there. Nothing's being contributed to it. I have another 401k with my current job, and then a Roth IRA that I'm also contributing to on a regular basis. And for these 3 portfolios, they are focused on investing in target funds. So Vanguard target retirement funds. I don't really do any trading within these. I don't buy individual stocks. They're all in ETFs and focused on retirement. The 5th portfolio that I have here is on a different platform than the main portfolio, and it just offers some diversification. I used to have this portfolio mainly focused on spec stocks. Some of the companies that we won't look at that you will see that I have videos on, like Palantir, SoFi, they are actually within this second portfolio and not my main portfolio. So just keep that in mind. Just because I talk about a company and I do own it, it may not be in this main portfolio. And this last portfolio is the smallest of them all. It's my spec/options portfolio. And basically what I do in there is I trade put credit spreads against SPY, as well as run the wheel on some stocks. So this is a very small portfolio. I have a little bit of SoFi in it, but other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. It's mainly just there to keep me engaged with the market on a more daily basis. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the portfolio. And the first thing we have up here is cash. We have about $29,000 in cash. It's actually a little bit lower than this because I've invested a little bit of money this weekend. However, that makes up around 14% of the portfolio, and it's always good to keep a decent amount of cash on the sidelines just in case the market is to dip. That allows you to be able to go into positions and really build them out fairly quickly. The first position that we have up here is Apple, and I have listed these in the portfolio by largest total gain, and we can see that Apple right now is sitting at almost 300% gain from where I've purchased it. And you can see that my cost basis right now is sitting at $47.58, and that's because I was buying Apple back in 2018 when they had a major dip around concerns with China as well as the trade war that was going on at that time. And that was a very good purchase. The only thing I wish I did is that I bought more because this has been my best performing stock in the portfolio. The second position up here is Microsoft, and I'm sitting at 134% gain, and the current total value is sitting just over $6,000. And this is another one that I wish I bought more of because I only have 17 shares of Microsoft at an average cost basis of $157.87. The third position is probably my favorite in the portfolio, and that is Meta. Meta right now, we have gained 113%, and the position value is sitting at $36,000. And the reason I like Meta so much is because it's one of the first positions that I really had a lot of conviction around. I was buying this company last year as it dipped down, and I bought it all the way down. I was averaging in around $175, then $150, then $120, all the way down to around $90. I was buying into this company, and we can see that over the last year, it's paid off very well. I have an average cost basis of $156.85, and I have a total number of shares of 108. The next position that we have up here is JP Morgan Chase, and it's currently sitting at less than 1% of the portfolio with a current value of $1,600 and just under 70% return. And this was a position that I added in 2020 as a lot of the banks and other stocks were falling. I thought that they would do relatively well, and they have over the last few years. We can see that I bought in at around $90.35, and I only have 11 shares of the company. Then we have Google currently sitting at a gain of just under 58%. We can see that the total value right now is sitting at $9,300, and it makes up around 4.5% of the portfolio. And I actually added my Google position back in 2020 when the stock was trading around $1,000. Since then, they've gone through a stock split, and I ended up adding more to my position last year as the stock stock began to dip. So we can see that my average cost basis is sitting at $86.84, and I have a total of 68 shares. Next up, we have Starbucks, and that makes up around 1% of the portfolio with a current value of $2,100 and a return of 55%. I honestly like Starbucks a lot. I think they're a great dividend company and they have a lot of growth in front of them. However, they don't fit well into this portfolio just because it's very tech centric. We can see that I have a cost basis on Starbucks of $68.04 and a total quantity of shares of 20. Next up, we have VIG. This is the first ETF of the portfolio and they are focused on dividend appreciation stocks. It's a Vanguard fund. We can see that I have a return of 32% and the current value is sitting at $10,800, making up around 5.24% of the portfolio. My cost basis on this position is $122.56. I have a total number of shares of 67. And the way these ETFs fit into my portfolio is honestly when I'm looking at the market and I don't see any individual companies that I absolutely love, especially if the market has traded up, but I want to stay invested and I want to keep putting money into the market, that's when I will put money into VIG as well as some of the other ETFs that we'll see here in a bit. And next up is Visa. We can see that I have a current return of 27%. The total value is sitting at $5,500 and this only makes up around 2.5% of the portfolio. And the biggest issue with Visa is being able to build out a substantial position because it's only making up around 2.5% of the portfolio. And a lot of the reason for that is not because I don't believe in the company, it's just because Visa does not dip. They do not fall very far in stock price, so it's very difficult to add to this position. Right now, you can see that my cost basis is sitting at $196 and I own 22 shares of Visa. Here we have another small position, Bank of America. This is one that I added in 2020 as well. We can see that the total return is sitting at 24% with a current value of just under $2,000, and this again makes up less than 1% of the portfolio. Similar to JP Morgan, I was adding this back in 2020. We can see that my cost basis is sitting at $24.13 and I own 66 shares of Bank of America. And honestly, Bank of America, Starbucks, and JP Morgan are really some weird positions that I'm thinking about removing in the portfolio. I wouldn't mind taking profits and actually shifting those funds into something more like a Visa or even an ETF like VIG. The largest position in terms of total value is VOO, or an S&P 500 Vanguard ETF. We can see that the current value is sitting at almost $47,000. This makes up around 22.5% of the portfolio, and I'm sitting at a gain of 21%. I'm currently sitting at a cost basis of $341.78, and I own 113 shares of VOO. And again, just like VIG, VOO is another stock that I add to when the market is trading higher. I like buying into these ETFs when I know that the market seems to be a little overvalued because it allows me to stay exposed, however, not buy into individual companies that may crash by a larger percent than the broader market. And the final ETF of the portfolio is VNQ. This is a Vanguard real estate ETF. We currently have a value of $4,700. This makes up around 2.3% of the portfolio, and I only have a gain of around 3.5%. This used to be much higher gain. However, with the market dipping this year, especially the housing market, that has really hurt this ETF. And again, this is an ETF that I've built out slowly over time. We are currently sitting at a cost basis of $76.45, and I have a total quantity of 60 shares. And now we are actually getting into positions that I am down on. The first one is PayPal. PayPal, I am down 4.5%. The current value of my position is $19,700, and this makes up around 9.5% of the portfolio. We can see that my cost basis on PayPal is sitting at $59.21, and I own 350 shares of the company. Hopefully this shows you that I put my money where my mouth is. When I talk about a company very positively, especially like PayPal, I am going in heavy on them. And you can see that that is making up a very large position within the portfolio. And personally, I believe this could be a company that ends up like Meta, where it is a larger position in the portfolio just because it gain so much money over time. I think the stock could double in the next year, and that's why I'm so heavily invested in it. And that's even true for my worst performing position. We can see that BABA is down 20.5%, and I have around $15,200 in this company, which is making up around 7.3% of the portfolio. And my cost basis is currently sitting at $97.52, and I have a quantity of 196 shares of BABA. And this leaves the portfolio at a current value of $207,000 with a total gain of 37%, which is equivalent to $48,000. Let's leave off the video by taking a look at performance compared to the S&P 500. Over the last year, the portfolio has returned 32.49% compared to the S&P 500's 10.14%. However, over the last 3 years, we have underperformed, only returning 9.09% compared to the S&P 500's 10.36%. Personally, the one that I pay the most attention to is the 5-year return, because that is about how long I have had this account. We can see that the S&P 500 over the last 5 years has returned 11.01%. And if we look at this portfolio, we have actually returned just under 17%, returning 16.73%. And the reason this technically hasn't filtered over to the 5-year return yet is because we haven't hit 5 years yet. We can see that in just about a month, we will actually hit 5 years of having this account. So overall, I'm very happy with how I have performed over the last 5 years. I like the companies that I've invested in, and I think a lot of them are long-term investments. The only ones that I'm concerned with, again, are the banks. The banks, I really just don't have large enough positions for them to be worth it. So I'm considering selling out of those, as well as Starbucks. Starbucks could actually be transitioned into a different portfolio, but again, we'll get into that a little bit later. The only other position that I don't love for the long term is really Alibaba. Alibaba, I think, is going to be a very good short-term position, because I think over the next 3 years, there's going to be a time when the market values it a lot better than where it is sitting at right now. However, long-term, it's always a little bit difficult to understand China versus US relations, and that could present some issues with it. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Keep in mind, do not buy a company just because I talked about it in this video. Make sure you are doing your own research and looking into companies that meet your risk tolerance as well as your time horizon. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the transparency. If you did, please drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day.